everybody. And this is just going to be a brief Coyote Sunday. And I have just a couple of things on the UNICEF buzz that I was chasing down, and maybe just a little bit of projection on pandemic readiness for the US. More to come. Hi, everybody. Hope you guys are well on this Sunday, and thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're not sure whether or not you're tuning in, thank you for considering tuning in on this Sunday. So this is going to be a just a brief report. It's unfortunately it's not something that I can do outside very well. So I mean, and I'll work on that. I might even have a few test runs on that. But in the meantime, I just wanted to I know I kind of talked about it, or you guys kind of gave me a lead, but I kind of chased it down in my own way. So I'm just going to run a couple of infomercials just to say thanks to the viewers like yourself and our loyal patrons and more subscribers. I'll be right back. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in or considering tuning in to Black Spring with Autumn on your Sunday. Thank you so much.
This is the end.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. And I also want to do a really quick shout out to our friends over at Twitch. So I did not forget you. I might be just a little bit behind, but I will be right back. All right. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this Coyote Sunday. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll start with the lead that I was on the other day. I think the lead that you guys actually shared with me, and it's in reference to something from UNICEF. I find it interesting. Anything with a UN on the front of it just makes me think a little bit twice these days. So I am going to share that story with you. It's actually going to be based. I think this liner is going to be based on a report that was released in a study that they did. It seems that somewhere between the representatives and the leaders worldwide, they always seem to come up with their own studies and their own, to me, they always create their own bias for what they're going to project onto the world or onto, communities. So that's, I'm going to be sharing that story with you. And also, it seems like there's a question, as I'm thinking, who's asking? It says the US is not ready for another pandemic. I'm like, is this one done? It just makes me, there's a lot of questions that I have about that kind of question. I mean, is this the kind of gaslighting that they do to inspire their commissions, their hearings, or expose? Are we exposing vulnerabilities? I mean, that kind of a rabbit hole. So this is going to be a pretty brief live, but I did not come back yesterday. So, but I was able to chase this one down. And so, yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started with the first one. And that's going to come out of a source that, it looks like an international source, but we'll check it out just for a good measure. And thank you so much, Jermaine G, so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to share my screen with you. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you on. I'm going to share. It's preventing children from watching porn may infringe on their human rights. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe if that's now outrageous enough, then but there again, it's Agenda 21, and we've talked about the overarching agendas behind many of these ideas. So we'll start with this one. So this is coming from GhanaWeb.com. And this is preventing children from watching porn may infringe on their human rights. And this is just this is derived from the UNICEF report. I did try to run down the actual report, PDF. Jermaine G says, before I start this, Jermaine G says they are playing chess with our lives and future. So indeed they are. What's another commission, right? Thank you so much, Jermaine G. All right, so I'm going to go into that, and eventually I'll give you the full scale on this one, but not a ton here. Let's see how much bun and lettuce is on this. But that's why I wanted to see the actual report itself. However, according to this, a report published by the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, says that pornography may not always be harmful to children, and preventing children from watching porn may violate their human rights based on extensive interpretation of the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. The report based its conclusion on a European study of 19 EU countries and found that in most countries, most children who saw pornography were, quote, neither upset nor happy, end quote. The UNICEF report says 39% of Spanish children were happy after seeing pornography. The UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, report detailed how government policy protects children from harmful, abusive, and violent content online. The 2020 EU Kids Online study inferred that some children and young people, quote, intentionally seek out sexual content, end quote, for different reasons, and that these sexual images might provide answers to questions about puberty and sexual identity. But anti-porn organizations disagree with UNICEF data because it overlooks the harms of pornography to children. According to Lisa Thompson, Vice President and Director of the Research Institute at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, quote, UNICEF's report ignores the vast body of research demonstrating the harms of pornography to children. By ignoring the real harms pornography can have, UNICEF is playing roulette with children's health and safety, end quote. She said, quote, mainstream pornography contains horrific sexual abuse, rape, incest, racism, all of which children should not consume. UNICEF's milquetoast assessment of the impacts hardcore pornography on children does nothing to challenge the political narrative that pornography is benign and as a result puts children in harm's way, end quote. So, that's not a ton there. That's the reason that I was actually looking for the actual report. Tyrant Spain TDOA. I see your I'm going to send people your way, so not to worry if you're getting ready to go. I'm having some technical difficulties around here. But yes, I will be sending people. I'll send people over your way for sure. What do they call it? What do they call that? We'll do a blast. We'll do a crash party. Crash party. I'll send the crash squad over to your place. Not to worry. So yeah, but I find it's kind of apropos that they are, you've got Pride Month going on right now, and you've got this kind of release of information right now. So, and you've also had a few changes in the curriculums, without a doubt, without a doubt. Yes, so a raid, that's it. So Tyrant's Bane TDOA is going live after this, so you want to head on over there. Tyrant's Bane TDOA is a loyal supporter around here, and he is a fervent and passionate content creator, and he's going to be going live. So yeah, so as soon as I'm done, or even if you guys want to scoot out, by all means. But yes, he's going live soon, so no worries. Spirit of Liberty 1775. Spirit of Liberty says, has it dawned on anyone yet that not only was the Elk Shun fraud, but also the Veeries likely came from I get what you're saying, came from the lab, the woohoo place. Yeah, they don't even care anymore. The government is really corrupt. There you go. You said it. You got it. So there you go, without a doubt. Yeah, and so Jermaine G says, thank you, Spirit of Liberty. Nice to see you. He says, some very sick people are in power. OMG. I'm so scared for my son in the future to come. Yeah, I know. It's definitely, it's huge. It's a huge concern. And, whether you have kids or not, or whether yeah, wherever you are on that, whether dare I say, whether you've closed shop or whether you're not sure or whatever, I don't know. It's very dangerous. It's a threat to humanity. I think what's going on, a lot of threats to humanity. But I also find it interesting that they're already talking about another. Can you imagine they're already talking about another pandemic? Like, who's asking the question whether the U.S. is ready for another one? And I've talked to you guys about Schwab and the We Forum, and these. You see, we're having you notice we've had these mini cyber attacks, whether it's on meat packing plants or whether it's on, I think just about all of our enemies know at this point that our power grid is at least a century old. And yet we have all these commissions that they've done. There's plenty of work that they've supposedly done on the roundtable in Congress about the power grid. And it hasn't been restored, or they haven't upgraded it at all. So do you think I believe that this current regime has no idea the vulnerabilities that we face if something were to happen with the power grid? I mean, it's already happening. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you over to that little article, and I'm going to take you over to the article that's dealing with it's an NPR, and I think NPR is about as elite as it can get. I have a friend who thinks he's not. He says, "Oh, I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Democrat." But he's always, well, I always listen to NPR in my car. And I'm like, yeah, when you're not listening to NPR, your head is in the sand. No, thanks. I'll take it from here. I'll stick with my alternatives. Thank you. No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys to that. And thank you so much for tuning in. And I will be right back. Let's remove that one. Be right back after just a mini break here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and all your patience as usual. This show is brought to you in part by our sponsors. Whether you're interested in health, culture, politics, scripture, automobiles, or music, please check out Derek C. Williams, Killer Whale Channels, The Definition of Anarchy, Marcy T., Joseph Francis Burton, Paralysis by Analysis, Chrysler Imperial H, Little Miss Goth, AZ Infidel, Cold War Jesus, Anthony Scioli, and Let the Truth Be Told. We'll be right back right after this. All right, I see a message coming in from Latin Patriots. Says it's too early. All right, so you got to suck it up around here. Or you can always watch us in replay. So here we go. Jermaine G says, yes, Bill Gates spoke about the second pandemic. They are putting their plans in place to see, there you go. I'm yeah, okay. I got it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. And then Spirit of Liberty also says, I can spell, just don't want the bullies on TubeMe to scrutinize. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, isn't it amazing? Okay, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to move right along here. But thank you. I will keep an eye on the whole bit with UNICEF. I'm wondering if they're going to come out with something else. It looks like they've actually responded at least like to the, I think, public opinion. I think they've actually pulled down that PDF. So yeah, they pulled the PDF down, so I could not access it. So that's a part of my that was a part of the challenge there. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I really appreciate it. I think just a little bit off here. Okay, so this is actually going to come from, I don't want to go into the whole story on Governor Kemp getting booed. That's going to be an interesting election. I think it's going to be. And it's almost, you just almost have to look at it at entertainment right now, because that's just, it's just, I don't know if there's a difference between, Hollywood actors and politicians anymore. I don't know if there is. But if you guys have something better, then, as I say, start handing it out, bring it. So let's see. Okay, here we are. All right. So NPR does a liberal good, right? All right. So here we are. Sorry for the delays there. Okay. So, and this is the new administration's people. This is coming out of, I guess, their commissions and their committees. Yeah, of course. So I'm just going to blow this one up for you. All right. So according to this, the CDC's number 2 official says the U.S. isn't ready for another pandemic. All right. And this is the Dr. Anne Shushat. I'm not sure. She's the principal deputy director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, testifies before a House panel on September 2019, which that's interesting that it's here. However, that's your imagery there. The United States was unprepared for the CV. The response, quote, wasn't a good performance, end quote. And there's still, quote, a lot of work to do, end quote, to get ready for the next pandemic when it comes. Do you guys see this? You already know. Okay. So I guess why don't they just tell us the tabletop? Ask us if we want to participate in the tabletop exercise, or better yet, this is what I usually save this in my little bag. I usually pull this out every now and then.
This matters going forward. We're in a live exercise here to get this right.
Okay, so I'm starting to think we're in the model, but I think we're in a live exercise all the time. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going here. Sorry for the digression here, but I thought it was relevant. Okay, so that's the assessment of Dr. Anne Shushat, the number 2 official at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, who is retiring this summer after 33 years at the agency. Quote, this was a really complex system-wide assault, end quote. She says in an interview on Morning Edition. But another threat tomorrow, we're not where we need to be. We're still battling this one. And we have a lot of work to do to get better prepared for the next one. But I think there's political will that might have been missing before, end quote. Do you understand? Are you guys picking up something here? When she's asked about the political pressure she faced under the former President Donald Trump, Shushat declines to get into details. Quote, I would say that my work was mainly focused on directing our response to support state, local, public health, clinical partners, community groups, end quote. She says, quote, the political side of things, I was not. After a certain point, I wasn't doing, end quote. Shushat also says she supports further investigations into the origins of the pandemic. Quote, there's a lot we really do need to know here, end quote. She says, quote, so understanding where this came from and how it spread so easily, I think is important, end quote. Now, here how Shushat became a disease detective. Shushat does not quite have the public profile of Dr. Anthony Fauci, but her work as a disease detective tracing outbreaks is a part of American popular culture. Kate Winslet's character in the movie Contagion was modeled in part on Shushat. Shushat's career as a doctor began in the 1980s in New York City, which was a challenging time and place. Quote, 1 out of 5 of my patients has had AIDS and they were really sick, end quote. She says, quote, many of them didn't make it. You know, people came in with shortness of breath and were intubated very soon after and got a diagnosis that they didn't know they had, which at the time was essentially a death sentence, end quote. She emerged from that time as an internist looking for something new. As she finished her residency, she remembered hearing about Epidemic Intelligence Service, the CDC's disease detective program. She thought, quote, maybe that would be a fun thing to do. Maybe just spending 2 years learning how to investigate outbreaks would be interesting and a little less intense than what I had just been through before I spend my life in practice, end quote. But instead of returning to a medical practice, she stayed with the CDC. Quote, I just fell in love with what we do, how we do it, the people we work with, and the impact that we have, end quote, Shushat says. Below are the highlights of the interview, edited for length and clarity. So if you guys want to dig into that, you know, the rabbit hole is wide, dare I say. But yes, so this is, you know, this is like, I guess the chatter. I don't know if this is I guess it's probably chatter amongst, you know, Capitol Hill, not just the CDC. You know, these people, I would imagine they chat amongst themselves. Of course, their emails are all over the place right about now for whatever reason. That doesn't do anything for me. I know everybody wanted to share those. It's no different than, to me, people, the you know, the curiosity behind the HRC emails. I mean, that didn't do anything for me, and certainly nothing happened. There was a lot, I think, released in those in those emails, the HRC emails, and nothing ever. There's no justice. There's no closure. It's just, oh, here's the storyline, and you were in it. So that's so yeah, that's NPR's version on. To me, there's some projection, or I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll see if the commissions come out. I think they talked about a commission. You know, they focused more on truth commissions. I think even before President Trump, you know, was, you know, before the election, they were focusing on, was it reconciliation and truth, something garbage. Also more hearings, but nobody talks about, I mean, the real infrastructure stuff. I would say that the power grid would be, I would consider that being an important part of infrastructure, which I don't think that's quite getting any attention. And for my last trick, I will show you, looks like the response from Governor Kemp's address to GOP. And I'm certainly going to be watching that I'm going to be watching, I guess, that race for governor between him and Jones. So I'll show you that clip, and then I'm going to get you guys out of here on your Sunday. Hope you guys are doing well out there. I really appreciate it. And also, as saying earlier, as the close of this, I know that Tyrant Spain TDOA is going live. So I'm sure you'll have a great time there, and you'll be well received over there. So we'll go to that, and then we will round out this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Okay, so I apologize for the little bit of delay here. It's actually more operator error as usual. So I never get that much better at this, it seems. Okay. All right. So I'm going to zoom in on this. Here, what you have is going to be an example of Governor Kemp attempting to give a speech, but he's also going to catch a little bit. He's going to catch a little bit of, catch a little bit of egg, I guess, or tomatoes. And this is GOP Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia on Saturday. And he's been reflecting, of course, on many things, or, he's projecting things. But I think a lot of people are still not happy with him about the electoral win over Trump. So I'm going to show you that, and then we're out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And let me know if you can see this or if you cannot hear it. I will make it better. All right, here you go. Whoa. Sorry. It's the wrong section there. There you go. All right, it looks like you got a little bit of redemption there on the end. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had for you guys on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I really appreciate you guys so much for coming in on the Coyote Sunday. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. I really appreciate it. And I will run just a couple of infomercials, and I will see you guys later on the next live stream, in the comments section, on a video, the night queue. I might even have a test later. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure. I may try to do one outside. It might just be a test, but thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. I want to say salute to everybody in the stream. Tyrant Spain TDOA, which you want to go over. He's actually doing a live right now. Jermaine G, as well as Spirit of Liberty. Thank you so much for coming in. And Latin Patriot, John H. Roberts Jr. So yes, I'm just going to run a couple of infomercials and then we're going to be out of here. Thanks so much, guys. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And yes, just a really quick recap. We did go into the UNICEF, some of the bun and lettuce on the UNICEF report. If I find that report, I will bring it back to you. But right now, I think UNICEF has pulled that report down. But they are facing criticism on that. And it's, well, I thought this was, it's something that I shared. I thought it was a pretty good visual definition of the equity versus the equality. So I thought I'd share that. So, credits to it there. It's a Liberty something cartoon, something like that. Shout out to Old Head Deuce. Thank you so much for coming in. And yeah. So also, by the way, this is an official raid, I guess. I don't do raids, but in this case, I'm going to do one. Tyrant Spain TDOA is live right now. So if you want to get over there, he is doing a live right now. And I'm sure it will be interesting and fully loaded. So you might want to get over there. And thank you guys so much for coming in on this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. And I will see you guys around later.